Gentlemen, 2022 is upon us, and it is so incredible to be with you this morning and to be back together after 2 weeks off. Today, we're going to talk about the anatomy of accountability. What does it look like to be accountable to somebody? And there's a few of you who might recall a couple of years ago, Larry joined us in the room with about 10 guys, and we talked openly about what our relationship looked like. But so many of you knew since that meeting, Larry and I being together here, obviously down in Mexico, we wanted to just kick it open here. So Larry, why don't you just answer a few questions? Tell us about your wife and family, and a little bit about what you do, so they can get a bit of background. Okay.
Perfect. Can you hear me?
Yep. Great.
So I'm a realtor for 40 years now. January will be the 40th year in real estate in Abbotsford. Marnie, my wife, we've been married for 37 years. And she's been a realtor for about 27 years with me as a partner. And we have one child. His name is Jared, who's married to Tiana, and they have two kids, Brinley and Lexa. And so we are papas and nanas. And I got to know Dave many moons ago when he came to Abbotsford to look for a property. He was hired at Northview. And we had our come to meeting at Mama Panda's. And we hit it off in a way that all of a sudden we said, okay, let's be accountability partners. And that was 31 years ago.
Yeah.
So Dave's been eating farmer sausage and toast and milk and coffee at my place for almost, like, let's call it an average of about 47 to 48 weeks a year for the last number of years. Just due to the fact that when we started this off, his house was rock and roll. He had 4 kids. It was a little more noisy, and so we decided to do it at our place. And now his office is close to our place, so we just connect at our home. And here we are in Mexico, enjoying a moment together, which is, some of you might think, oh, we have to be best of friends and we do everything together. And we are best of friends, but we don't do everything together. Dave's into hockey, I'm not. Dave's into baseball, and I'm not. I like snowboarding, drag racing, and drag boats and hot rods and muscle cars and all that kind of stuff. And so we each have our own hobbies that aren't at all related. But the one thing we do have is to be a goal, an aim to be the best that we can be while we're around. And that includes just even what we're doing right now. And that's hanging out and sharing our life with you guys. That's awesome.
So Larry and I have talked about accountability on many, many formats. We've trained pastors on accountability. We've trained seminary students on accountability. We've spoken at men's meetings on accountability. He's been on a TV show with me on accountability, been on a podcast on accountability. So we don't just talk about accountability, we kind of do it, and have been for a long time. And I tell you guys, I will never the rest of my life not be accountable weekly to another man. Even the years before I came out here to live in British Columbia, for 8 years, I was accountable to other men in Saskatchewan. So, I'm in year 39 now of being accountable every week to another man. That's year 39. Larry's 31. I just cannot tell you that there's something really anchoring to having somebody who knows you, knows all your weaknesses, knows your dark side, you've opened up everything to. It'd be touch and go as to whether Larry knows me more or Donna Lynn knows me more, because we just open up. It's not like I'm keeping secrets from my wife. It's just that I don't keep much from Larry. And so Larry can mess with everything. And so Larry, why don't you just kind of give him an idea of what we usually do on Wednesday mornings? Wednesday mornings at 7:30 till 9 o'clock.
Let's do that. Before I do that though, you know what, Dave? One of the things that he forgot to mention too in accountability is there are certain things that happen in your life. There are such celebratory moments.
Mhm.
And there's only certain people that you can share those things with because others could get jealous or weird on you or whatever.
Mhm.
And Dave and I root for each other when great things happen. And I think that's really a blessing.
Yeah.
Not only the tough stuff,
Yeah.
but the joys where if you shared that with maybe your friends or whatever, they would look at you sideways. You can't share it, but you can't do that. And so that's awesome also.
Yeah, we like to use the expression, we can both bellyache or brag, and both are okay. Because Larry is behind me, I'm behind Larry, and we talk about a win we had. He says, hey, the other night I was with a client, and after I was finishing the business part, I got talking and I had a chance to pray with them at the end. Well, I'm going, nice work, Siebert. That's awesome, right? So you can share these joys, and we're so in stride with one another that it's not bragging. Like I'll mention to him, on Wednesday morning, I think there was 41 guys here yesterday. We had a talk about this and I felt it really went well. And he's going, awesome, Currie, good job. We can also struggle and talk about problems, and we can complain to each other, and we're there to keep perspective. So I think that's what you're talking about, Larry. So that's good.
So like on Wednesdays,
Yeah.
we connect at 7:30 every Wednesday morning. And usually at 7:30, I'll have eggs on and some toast, and we sit and chat and have our nutrition. Then we head to our living room area and we sit. And whatever is up that week is probably the most dominant thing, because guess what? Every day we're dealing with either issues or problems, and the way that we solve them, many times if we solve them correctly, well, that's a praise item. And if we're struggling through or working through things, then those are things that we're going to be talking through and praying through. But even just sitting down, how did the week go? How's it going with the kids, the grandkids, the wife? What's the most problem or dominating pain right now that we need to talk about? Sometimes it's even health, our own health, for me anyways. Arthritis in my legs, and sometimes it's just a tough moment. But and then we dig into what these things mean, and many times ways to shoot back and forth what we could do to solve them or not, asking God to maybe give us some revelation. And then also we pray, and we pray for ourselves, for our business, for our kids, for you guys, for grandkids, for my clients, for my buyer clients and seller clients, for our wife. And then just sometimes it's things that come up that are just pressing, that we need to hand over together and make that happen. Then he forgets his phone at my place, and he goes to the office, and then his secretary comes to my home and picks it up.
Okay, so
and that's the day.
Times. Okay, so let me add to that. In the early years, our first 10 years of meeting together, and remember, in the early years, that's 10 years, guys. But we created a bit of a system so that we weren't fooling each other. And and we created it was 65 or 70 questions that were compiled, that we would ask each other those 70 questions about every 4 months or so. Each week we each had a piece of paper, and we would pick numbers out of 1 to 70, and then we would each pick 2, and we
would randomly pick them. It was like Dave would say 47 and 72 or whatever, and I'd say 26 and 35. So whatever those questions were, we didn't know what they were, but you'd have to dig into that question so you aren't scooting around wondering, like, today I don't want to talk about this. Yeah.
So because it was completely thorough, and you guys can understand what I mean about thorough, we're asking everything about everything. Okay, so 70 questions is pretty thorough. And so what happened is Larry and I would do 4 questions a day. We would still be open to talk about what's going on in our lives, but we wanted to make sure that we weren't just talking accountability and not really addressing all this tough stuff. Because there's questions about finances, there's questions about in-laws, there's questions about your spouse, there's questions about relationships with your kids, there's questions with coworkers, there's questions about, lust of your eyes, appropriate relationships, there's, church attendance, Bible reading, there's questions about everything. And so for, I don't know, 6 to 7 years, we just kept doing these questions over and over again. So about 3 times a year, we would get through all 70 questions by doing 4 every week. And
what you're reading, what you're watching. And sometimes we'd connect on a book together, and he would bring it to our place, and he would read me off his underlines from that page, and I'd read my underlinings from that page.
So here's the next one we're working on together. So when we get back together in January, February, we'll be working on this new book called Gentle and Lowly, which is really understanding the heart of Jesus for how much he loves us. And I finished the book. Larry's about half done. And I'm telling you, I can't wait to share with you guys some of the things I've learned and been challenged about in my life. But so sometimes we do a book study, sometimes we'll read the Bible through together in a year. We've done stuff like that. But mostly it's just, I call him to be the best person he can be before the Lord. And he calls me to be the best person I can be before the Lord. And he's relentless. What I really love about Larry is not shy, and Larry doesn't hold back. And he's not afraid to ask the hard questions. And when I tell men, make sure you have a guy in your life, accountability partner with teeth. We know guys that we call it grit and grace. We need a balance between guys who care for us, who have grace, and guys who are going to call us to greatness with a little grit. Larry has been one of the greatest gifts in my life personally to keep me on the track of following Jesus with my whole heart. And I'm forever grateful for that, because nothing has helped me stay on the course more than being weekly with Larry. And what are you doing in the word? What's God saying to you? How you doing? What's the struggles this week? It doesn't matter what the struggle is. You always have to get perspective, because sometimes you get a little weird in your head about, I think I'm going to do it this way. What do you think? And you go, well, that's stupid. Why would you do that? And don't you realize that, whatever. And so we have these weekly tune-ups that we do with one another. And
the critical part, when Dave said weekly, is this, is each of our crap only gets to be 1 week old.
Yes.
The white elk or the pink elephant, or what do you want to call it, under the carpet? No, it doesn't build up, because that's a commitment that we've had with each other, that like each week unload whatever that is going to be, so we can live freely.
Yeah. So, our primary relationships, all of us now have grandkids, Larry and I. So our kids are not living at home, but there was a season where, I had 4 kids at home. He had 1 kid at home, and we had relationships with those kids that need to be, adjusted and improved. And obviously with our wife was a consistent theme throughout. And so the crazy thing is, if I had some words with Donald, I would tell Larry, yeah, Donald, I had a bit of a dust up last night over blah, blah, blah. And he says, well, what are you going to do? And say, well, okay, I'll do this, and then, well, when are you going to do it? Okay, I'll do it by tomorrow night or whatever. And of course, without hesitation, next week, well, did you talk to Donald Lynn? You know what I'm saying? And it's just so good. Like Larry implied earlier, we deal with their stuff every week. We call it like taking out the garbage, just like you take out the garbage, every week. At home with the recycling and all that stuff, but just to take out our own personal garbage every week is such a great thing.
I love this story also. So if you have somebody in your life that actually can push you forward and motivate you and give you a little kick in the butt every once in a while. So when Dave was pastor at Northview, they had something called NBC, a night before Christmas. And so he comes into Wednesday morning accountability And he said, so I bought, he bought 4 tables. So that was 8 or 10 people a table. He said, so how many are you going to buy? And I says, what? Well, how many are you going to buy? Well, I'll buy 2 then. Okay, now I have to go headhunting for 20 people.
Yeah.
And
Just so you understand, guys, this was a Christmas outreach that our church did, a drama musical thing that we invited people who didn't know the Lord to. That was the story. Go ahead, Larry.
yeah, so I found my, 18, 20 people, had them come to the table. Great. So that was a success. High five, success, success. Great. Next year, well, Dave got 8 tables. Well, how many are you going to get, Larry? Oh, crap. Okay, I'll go for 4. And so I fill up my 4 and he has his. And then the next year again. And so as the kicking in the butt goes along, the next year after that, I said, well, I'm going to invite my whole database and I'm buying the initial, because it was the warm up, I guess would be called dress rehearsal. And so we had over 250 clients coming to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what a good accountability partner can do with you, is to just encourage you in the right direction and to challenge you in a way that you've never ever been challenged before.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got many stories like that of challenges that we've done.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because Larry kept inviting more people. And of course, this was an event that I was collaborating. I was kind of directing the whole drama musical outreach. And most nights I would be the speaker at it. And so when we did the dress rehearsal, we were just practicing the drama, the music, the entrances and stuff. But Larry says, oh no, I want you to do the full talk at the dress rehearsal because I got 250 clients there. So here we are partnered together praying for all of these clients who are coming to our church to hear a Christmas presentation at Larry's cost. And I'm doing the gospel presentation to all of his clients. You see how we work together and push each other. And I mean, there isn't a weekend that I'm away speaking or whatever. Matter of fact, in some cases, Larry is aware that I'm got pretty heavy counseling load. And so, he prays for me about when I'm away speaking. He prays for me when I'm, finding a pretty heavy load of counseling, or I got situations where I'm not sure what to do or how to handle, or they're weighing on me. We pray for one another about our stuff, and
on that prayer thing, here's another thing that we've done that's just awesome. So how many times you run into people and something's going on in your life, either a happiness or not so happy, and you say, hey, you know what, we'll pray for you about that, or I'll pray for you about that, or Martin and I will pray for you about that. So the challenge was, stop it. Every time that you say to somebody, hey, we're going to pray for you about that, then you say, you know what, why don't I just do that right now with you? And so from that point on, Dave and I would rather stop if it's on the phone, if it's on Zoom, if it's in person, and you think in your mind, I should tell them, oh, I'm going to pray for you about that. Okay, great. And then just do it right there. Man, that's so effective for not only yourself being able to do that, but for the person that gets to hear you actually physically, audibly praying for them is amazing.
Yeah, so we'll pray with people like in a parking lot, in a restaurant, we're done a meeting and we're standing by their car outside. Well, let me pray for you before we go, Larry will pray for people in their home, as he's just, talked about listing their home. And we just decided, let's not just say, well, that's tough. We'll be praying for you. And we're just going to start. And it's just been a really good thing. Really good thing. We also had a season that was pretty encouraging for likely better part of a year and a half. We bet each other, and you can imagine how competitive I am, and Larry is equal. Well, not quite as competitive as me, but we'll see. But in any case, we would bet each other. The goal was to encourage 3 people a day for all 7 days. So next Wednesday morning, did you encourage 21 people? We had to hit 21. I remember that. There'd be times it'd be 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and I go, oh my goodness, I've only encouraged one person today. So quickly I'm on the phone. Hey, how's it going, Roger? You know, and I'm encouraging you somehow, Roger. I'm encouraging Eric or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm gonna get three. It's only 9 o'clock. I still got another hour at least to call people or encourage somebody. And you understand that because we wanted to be like the Barnabas guys, you know, the sons of encouragement. And you know, people have said to me, Currie, gee, you're so encouraging. Well, encouragement became a discipline because by nature, Larry and I are both pretty judgmental, critical, say it straight people. We need Jesus really bad, guys. And but when you push each other to be men of encouragement and actually pushing each other to 3 people a day, week after week after week after week after week, pretty soon you start doing encouragement without someone telling you to.
It becomes a habit.
Yeah. And so I just, and some of you guys who are a little older like myself, what I have found is that I'm surprised, but people do respect the fact that I might have some wisdom because of my years. And so now I step in and I encourage. I just, when I have a chance to encourage, I encourage. And I'm sure Larry finds that it's in his system too. How do you see that one, Larry?
You know, I think like we organize our lives around what we aim at. Basically, if you aim for money, it's what you're going to be dealing with. If you're aiming for encouragement, if you're aiming for just becoming just better, and you can fill in the blanks about what better is for you guys. And so I remember for the first number of years, Dave would close our prayer off with, Lord, help us be the best husbands and fathers and now grandfathers that we can be.
Yes.
And, you know, and that becomes just more habit for me. Okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to be a better grandpa? How am I going to get those little kids to actually love me? That they're going to be able to listen to me as they grow older and actually think about what I'm saying with love and respect, and they might consider me not just an old geezer, but you put stuff into their lives. And so the same with friends or clients or people around you. Like, you know, you can talk a lot about being a Christian and all that kind of stuff. But is talk the best thing, or is action the best thing? Talk and action, great, but action speaks more than talk.
One of the other things that I found so encouraging is one of the prayers that was very common in our Wednesday mornings was, beyond the help us to be the husband, the father, the grandfather you want us to be, and I pray, Lord, that the things we say and do would honor you. That there's nothing that I would say and nothing that I would do that wouldn't honor the Lord. And I remember, speaking of the journey that we're all on this call, I remember one time I had a client couple referred the young man, he was likely 30, 32, his mom to come and see me. His mom was already divorced 3 times, pretty confused lady. And so I said, sure, I'd love to help your mom. Well, the mom came in and was a pretty complicated lady. Matter of fact, being honest with you guys, because this is what this is all about here, she was dressed to be noticed. She was likely maybe 2 years younger than me at the time. So this is like 10 years ago, maybe 9, but she, high slit in the skirt, low top, very gushy, kind of felt like she was kind of flirting and stuff, and it gave me the creeps. So after the session, I called my wife and I said, honey, I just saw a client that I need to talk to you about, because she made me feel very uncomfortable. And then I also texted Larry and I said, ask me about my client. So next week he says, what the heck is this? Ask me about my client. What do you mean by that? But what I did, guys, you understand, Power grows in secret, and that lady's goofiness and flirtiness, and I mean, within our age group, she wouldn't be a hard lady to look at, if I can be honest, but it was really weird what was going on. I never did see her again, but between telling my wife and texting Larry, asked me about my client, it broke the possible mental game. It broke it instantly. I didn't even go to my next session. In between sessions, I called my wife. I said, I want to talk to you about this client tonight. And then I texted Larry, asked about my client. And you see, guys, when you're struggling or tempted, we have to reach out. That's what I did. That's what Larry helped me with. And so when we next week we talked, the agreement was with my wife, if she comes again and has any kind of the same feelings, I will refer her to one of the women counselors. I will see her again, and just maybe that was just off or whatever that day. She never did come back, but we had a plan, and Larry knew about it, and Donalyn knew the plan. And because I broke the silence, there was no power, no junk in my head, because I told my wife and my accountability partner instantly. You see, that's the strength of accountability. There isn't anything complicated. Like if I have I got 4 adult kids, and, sometimes there might be a bit of a disagreement with one of them I got to work through or something. Well, Larry's walking step for step. Why would you say that, Dave? And so we kind of rehearse what we're going to do, because I want him to have a fabulous relationship with his son and his daughter-in-law. And he wants my 4 kids and my in-law kids to be close with me. And so we're each other's advocates to do it right, say it right, and when to speak up and when to shut up. And we're really good at coaching each other to do that. Larry, add some more.
Probably, well, if you're like me, growing up, got to read the Bible, got to read the Bible. Dave, would question, or one of the 70 odd questions in that page of questions would be like, how's your Bible reading going? And mine was more out of guilt. Okay, I got to get my reading in. And it, it was, and guilt's not a great motivator in my life. In fact, it's almost the opposite of motivation. And so all of a sudden I watched this one pastor from the US, and he's saying, let me tell you about my secret to reading the Bible. And I explained that to Dave too. And it's just been incredible. I bet you it's been 5 years right now since I've seen that video. And I've maybe missed 5 days in 5 years. And the neat part was this. So this is, I'm going to encourage you guys. So here's how he said it. This guy's name's Kenton. And he said, okay, choose the same time every day. So if you're a morning person, grab morning. If you got lunchtime and you want to do that, whatever time it is, it doesn't matter. Choose your favorite beverage. So a latte is mine. So great, make a latte. And, and so ended up now, just start wherever you want to, Old Testament, New Testament, and just continue reading. And here was the trick. And here's the thing that I've never heard before, and it's so great. Start reading, and as soon as you get your nugget from God, so I always pray, hey, Lord, what do you want to teach me today? And then as soon as you get your nugget from God, close the Bible, underline it, close the Bible, you are done. And now how are you going to use that nugget for the day? And you know what? Bible reading has become just 100% different. I can't wait to see, okay, what am I going to learn today? And here's another part of it. You know how sometimes you read the Old Testament stuff and there's just stuff in there that you don't understand and you're going like, what the heck is this? It's called the mystery box. So stuff that you don't understand, rather than struggling with it, trying to figure out what God's doing, how does this apply to me? And I hate this part of it. I don't like Job betting with Satan. I don't like God and Satan betting against Job if he's going to do this or not do this and all that weird stuff. Just put it in the mystery box, forget about it, and then God can bring it up to you another time when you're ready. And then just keep going and looking for your nuggets. Well, man, for me, what a blessing. And Dave encouraging me along. And then guess what? All of a sudden, these little nuggets I have, well, I sent one to Marlene. I sent one to Jared and Tiana. I sent one to Dave. My brother's a pastor in Vernon. I send him some of the nuggets. Next thing you know, he's written a sermon on a Larry nugget. And I never looked at it that way before. And so how can you all of a sudden, something that you're just doing daily is all of a sudden an encouragement to all these people around you. Now, I don't send everybody a nugget every day, just periodically, maybe once or twice a week, whenever I think it's worthy. But that's part of Dave's encouragement.
Yeah.
That's great.
Larry, I'm going to finish the sentence first, but then you can follow with this. But if there's one thing I appreciate most about the accountability, it's this, and I'm going to start so you can fill that sentence out as well. But for me, if this is true north, which is the way God wants me to go, if that's true north, what I find with accountability, I might be off for a bit, but I'm pretty soon back to true north, and going in the direction God wants me to, true north. And yeah, I get off a little bit this way or that way, but when I'm accountable to somebody, it's kind of like I get pushed back on the track, get on the path quicker, and I never wander far. I never get careless far. I never get complacent far. I have this weekly encouragement, motivation, and challenge from Larry, and as we do for each other, to stay on track, to become the man, to become the husband, to become the father, to become the grandfather, to become the friend, to become the person God wants me to be. There's the goal. I want to finish strong. There's the goal. And the accountability just keeps me, if I'm off a bit, it just pushes me back on track. And that's likely the number one thing for me over 39 years of being accountable to somebody. I don't get very far off track without it getting back on track. And that, even when I'm one of the lead pastors of a church of 4,000, I was still meeting with Larry. It wasn't like, oh, I don't need this now. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Jeremiah 17:9 says, the heart is deceitful about all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? When you think that you are above being tempted, when you think you've matured enough that you'll never struggle, that's exactly where the enemy wants you. You've got to realize you need somebody in your corner who knows you. They've got to know you. You've got to open up. You've got to share yourself. You got to share your struggles. My darkest time in my life came 12 years ago when I was directing a ministry and the president of that organization canned me. I was directing 35 staff and just, having a big, strong ministry, and I got pink slip. Well, it was such a hard day for me that I went to Larry and I said, hey, I just need to hang out at your house. And I cleaned his pool for about 4 hours.
For 10 hours.
Every hour. So he'd come out with another Coke, say, Dave, here's a Coke. You need anything else? I said, no, I'm fine. I just need to be alone. But I had to go someplace where I was safe. And I was in Larry's backyard. You see, when you have an accountability partner who knows your junk, he knows your heart, he knows your struggles, he knows your joys, he knows your successes, he knows your wife, he knows your kids, he knows your work, he knows everything about you. Now that's a place you can go and you can be safe. And the beautiful thing about this man, he's not afraid to call me on my stuff. He's got teeth, and we keep pushing each other back on track so that we're not very far off each week. And that's what I like best about being in accountability. Larry, what about you?
I had my private pilot's license years ago, and it's the same thing with Dave's calling on track. Apparently, and I don't know the exact numbers anymore, but if you're flying for an hour and you're 1 degree off track, you can be 60 miles actually from the airport that you're supposed to be landing at down in an hour or two. So it doesn't take long for a person's life to be 60 miles off track just by that 1 degree. If you stay that 1 degree course long enough, you are just way out there. So back to that. So I like the beyond trustworthy. We have a commitment that we are not going to go outside of us two and start telling people about our crap. It's private, and it's not, oh, hey, you want to pray for this because this is happening. No, it's just our deal. So to be 100% honest and truthful and being able to open up and to have somebody at your back to be either your cheerleader or the guy who's going to kick you in the butt or ask the questions that you knew he was going to ask, but you really didn't want to get into it. and to have that, have the guts to do that,
Yeah.
to, well, I don't know. It's a portion of my life that if I didn't have that, I know that my business wouldn't be the same. My life with my wife wouldn't be the same. My kids and grandkids connections wouldn't be. It's just beyond. It just snowballs into just a huge thing about who I am, in the right way, on track. Like, and I do have crashes. We crash our plane, and then you get back up. And so I think for me, that would be, in a summary, just the very best of what every person can have in their life if they choose to. And to find somebody that's honest, that will attack what needs attacking. And that doesn't say, oh, it's too bad. Oh, don't worry about that. You'll pick up the pace later on. No, get right into it, dig into it, and kill it, and move.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah. So guys, as I wrap this up here, say in your mind, 31 years. 31 years. Being accountable is not just a good idea for a season of your life. 31 years. It's not, yeah, I got a couple of guys I'm accountable to in ReGroup, and you kind of call them on the phone every 3 weeks for 15 minutes, then you see them on Tuesday mornings, and that's your accountability. 31 years weekly for 90 minutes. 31 years, guys. We don't just talk about accountability. We live it. And it's the non-negotiable anchoring point in my life, more than church. I can't say more than Bible reading. Bible reading anchors me a lot, but certainly more than church. Larry and I together is more building than Bible studies I was part of and stuff. And just keep thinking, okay. I remember when I moved from Saskatchewan to BC, and I'd been accountable for 8 years out there. And I decided, I told my wife, I said, I got to find an accountability partner in Abbotsford, because being accountable to Steve and Ray was just so good for me. I got to find an accountability partner. And one of the very first people I met is the man who helped me and my wife find our house. And I found this guy to be so refreshingly straight, so willing to ask the hard questions. He was a nut. He was crazy. But I could sense he wanted to get close to Jesus. But I wanted an accountability partner. And I remember thinking that day after Mama Pandas, because Larry didn't know I was looking for an accountability partner. I haven't even moved to Abbotsford yet. We just accepted the call to come and be the church, one of the pastors at the church. And I'm trying to find a house for our family. And I remember thinking, Lord, is it my realtor? Is it really my realtor that's going to be the guy I'm going to be accountable to, my realtor? And he said, yeah, it is. So I remember asking Larry, he kind of did, what's that? I says, well, it's kind of this. But thank you, Siebert, for being an anchoring thing in my life to keep me being the man God wants me to be. I'm indebted. Well, gentlemen, I'm going to turn the recording off, and we're going to give a chance for you to ask some of your candid questions.
Dave, just before you do that,
okay.
Were you going to pass along those 70 odd questions to these guys?
They're already in the group chat.
Perfect.
Yeah. So the 70 questions, and what you got there is the pretty thorough notes we do at seminary, when we taught at seminary. So it's more than you need. You got the heart version here, but let me just